All right, good morning, everybody. This is Nigel Horonzy and Debra Fortin over here at Berkshire Hathaway Myrtle Beach Real Estate. We wanted to let you know that the South Carolina contracts have changed as of today. We have now gone to what is called a due diligence contract. And Debra, tell us a little bit about the due diligence contract and what that means.
Sure. The changes that take effect today mean that your purchase agreement no longer has the home inspection repair procedure located in it. The only item that is in the purchase agreement now is a due diligence timeline.
What a due diligence timeline means is when you put that time frame in, if you're a buyer's agent working with a seller, if you put that time frame in, you can have inspections, you can do whatever you want during that time.
Contractors to come in.
Contractors to come back, but the seller is not obligated to fix anything any longer. Or reply. And so what happens is that you as a buyer's agent have to send in a termination letter if the seller does not respond to you. Is that correct?
Right. So the date that you put for your due diligence is a really important date because that's the outside date that you're going to have everything done by. So you have to think ahead when you're planning your due diligence timeline for your client. If you represent the buyer, you want the due diligence timeline to be enough for the buyer to have inspections done, contractors come in, windows measured, anything that you want to have the opportunity to look at. And you have to have your letter of request to the seller and an answer back and signed by the due diligence date.
Or else then the contract then goes into full effect. So if you do not have your termination request or your agreements done, then the contract goes into full effect.
Correct. And it becomes an as-is contract.
And then it becomes an as-is contract. So the seller is not obligated to fix anything, right?
There's even a time on this contract for due diligence that it says things are going to be done by. It's by 6 p.m.
Sure.
On the date of that due diligence expiration.
Yes, yes. And it's very important, too, as if you're an agent, to know your home inspectors, to know whatever people, your contractors, that you need to get into the house to have enough time in order to do so. And as a selling agent, you need to prepare your clients for the same, knowing that, okay, well, I might not be able to get a home inspector out for 2 weeks or, a contractor out for 2 weeks. For us as a company, we have a list of good vendors.
We do. We have a list that we provide
we go through, and then, we will also be updating them as to how this contract works and how time is of the essence. But I think one of the biggest takeaways is probably the termination. Would you say?
Correct. That and education, like you just talked about,
yes.
We need to educate buyers and sellers about how these contract changes affect their ability to negotiate the contract.
That's right.
So it's education.
It's a lot of education that's going to be taking place. And Debra gave me this letter this morning, and this is from our state association. It says the legal hotline is getting reports that buyers' reps are not using due diligence correctly. This can increase the risk for the buyer's rep to get sued, face ethic charges, and face license law violations. So it's very important when you're with a company that they are training you properly on how to work the new contracts that are out. We've already had the attorney for the state association in our last meeting. We've talked about this for this.
We've been training for a month.
We've been training for a month, kind of preparing our people for this.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to let you know that this is, it's out here. Mm-hmm. It's gone in effect today. Mm-hmm. And is there anything else that we should know about this?
Yeah, actually, there's one final tip that we need to let you know about. So when you're doing your repair procedure request, that has also changed. It no longer includes the 5 mandatory items that the seller has to fix. The seller doesn't have to fix anything, can fix something
that's agreed upon.
So if you're asking for the seller to repair something outside about drainage, that's not in the 5 typical things of a home inspection. You can ask for that to be done. You can now ask for windows that are fogged to be corrected. But again, the seller is under no obligation to respond to the repair request or to complete any of those items unless you all agree in writing and have it all done by that termination drop dead date on your due diligence.
So agents out there, get really strong with your paperwork to stay out of trouble. Make sure that you're learning this, you understand it, you're able to explain this to both the buyer and the seller, and you'll have no problem.
One last thing, Nigel. It's important that we put the buyer's address and the seller's address on the purchase contracts now.
Very, very important, because there is due diligence monies that are in this contract, right? So whether it's $500 or $5,000, right?
Or $200.
Or $200, whatever is agreed upon, that the agent does not deal with that money.
Correct.
So us as agents or brokers are not going to be working with that money. So it's important to have that address for both the buyer and seller, because they can Venmo it to them, they can Zelle it to them, they can hard copy check, they can wire it to them. I mean,
Right.
but
Could be a bank check.
Yep.
Or a
So,
money order.
but that is now between the buyer and the seller to deal with that, which takes us as agents and brokers out of that.
Now, the components that are not affected by the due diligence part of the contract is the CL 100, the fact that it has to appraise if they're financing,
Yes.
and the financing contingency. If either of those three things fail, the buyer would still have the opportunity to receive their deposit money back, pending the seller and the buyer agreeing to.
Sure.
So it's just important that we are up to date on our knowledge so that we can better prepare our clients, and we hope you do too.
Guys, thank you again. Nigel Horonzy, Debra, Fortin, Berkshire Hathaway, Myrtle Beach Real Estate. We keep you educated, and give us a call if you need any help.